In this video, my hair is sticking up and I'm talking noise. Join me. Roll titles. Well, hi YouTube, Brian James, that Micro Four Thirds guy with you once again on what's proving to be a very, very cold week here in the UK. I went to Gatehouse of Fleet yesterday morning. It was -12 when I set off from home to get up there. Gatehouse of Fleet is on the west side of Scotland, in way past Castle Douglas and Dumfries, and a beautiful little town. I think I've done a video on it in the past, but beautiful little place, but it was bitter cold. But when I got to Gatehouse of Fleet, it was -0.5 degrees C, so I thought, well, that's positively tropical. It's almost shirt-off time. So in comparison, it was good. But it's cold. It's that sort of nasty weather. But I've been out this afternoon with, when I can find it, put it in the back. It's in the back of the car, with the G1. Been taking some photographs on that. And a lot of you made some really nice comments on the G1 video that I put up last week, and there's a link to it there. But basically, the G1 has a bit of a problem for me, insofar as compared to the more modern cameras, it's lacking in two big things. One is the pixel count, which is about 12.1 megapixel, and the other one is the noise at lower ISOs. And there was a few comments made on that, and I made comments in the video myself about it. But it did really start me thinking about things, and I've had a few discussions with other photographers recently about this. Now, many of you are aware on here that I really don't have a problem with pixel counts of 10 megapixel or 12 megapixel. They don't worry me. I'm not really a pixel peeper, and I do try and frame photographs as best as possible so that I crop as least as possible. That usually works fairly well for me. So I do find that even if I'm shooting 16:9 ratio for video and I'm losing some of those megapixels, even at 12.1 megapixel, I didn't see a real issue or a real problem. What I did pick up on was the noise, and that did irritate me a little bit. But then I started thinking about it, and I had a few conversations with people about it, and, well, why are we taking photographs? What's the point of taking a photograph? And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I'm trying to capture an image, trying to capture something which is going to tell a story, or which is going to be descriptive of something, or which is going to prompt a memory. And it's usually taking those photographs so that I can show other people those photographs. And I don't recall, apart from other photographers, and I'll put that in inverted commas, the old inverted marks, other than other photographers, I don't think anybody's ever asked me what ISO I'm using, what shutter speed I used, what aperture I used for the shot. Most people look at the image and look at what I've done as a creative tool or a recording tool, and that's what they're bothered about. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that these things aren't important. You know, if we can get a super clean image, if we can get a super sharp image, if we can get a really high detail, high resolution image, then they're all to the better. But, and it's a big but, do we lose sight sometimes of the reason we're taking images in the first place? I've been taking a few images recently on that G1, and I've looked at them and I've been thinking, that's really nice. Then I've been swayed to think, oh, but you can see noise. You can see noise in the background. Look down there, there's a bit of noise there. And I've realised that I've stopped looking at the image itself. I've looked at the silly fine detail, but I've stopped looking at what the picture that it paints is. I've stopped looking to see if there's a story attached. I've stopped looking to see what the descriptive part of the picture is. I'm looking at the silly fine detail. And in the last week or two, when I've been using this G1, I've been pushing it up towards, 1000 ISO quite often, because it is quite dark in these days. So I've been pushing it up towards 1000 ISO. And do you know what? When I've been looking at it purely from the image, I don't find problems. I'm not seeing the noise particularly because I'm seeing the image. Now, ponder on that for a moment, because while you're pondering, I'm just going to remind you, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe below. It really does help, and give us a big thumbs up, because that really, really does help to get these videos seen by more and more people. It gets YouTube to spread them. And if you'd like to support the channel, there's a PayPal and Patreon link in the details below. I really appreciate that. So back to the image. I'm really interested by other people's images, because when I look at another photographer's work, I rarely ever look at the silly fine detail of whether there's noise or, you know, what it is. I look at the overall image. Now, if you've got too shallow a depth of field and you haven't got enough focus depth, then that can stand out sometimes. Or if you've got too much of a depth of field and you're getting too much in the background, which is distracting, then that's fair enough. If I'm looking at all the other bits and pieces, they can come together, but rarely do I actually sit there and ponder as to, I wonder if he shot this at f4 or f7.1. I wonder if this was at a 3/20th of a second or a 500th of a second. I wonder if this was shot on 1200 ISO or 2000 ISO or whatever it is. I rarely ever think of those things. I look at other people's work with a very open mind and see what the image is for what it is portrayed as. And I think probably one of the things which has caused this more than anything else, this problem that we have where people are so bought into this idea that you've got to have silly low noise and you've got to have silly extremes of things, is because cameras have got so good. You know, the quality of the image that we're getting from even the cheapest camera, a £27 used G1 is producing some fabulous images. They are still better than cameras from a few years before that, considerably better. Now we're going up. We did have an exponential growth really insofar as how the details, the improvements went. Now that growth has sort of capped off a little bit because it's more and more difficult to see any real difference. When you've got something which you've got an ISO 256,000, the next one is 512,000. You know, you to get another stop difference. You're not seeing these huge jumps in quality that we did over the last 10 years, 10, 15 years. But we've been so hyped up by the marketing to buy into the newest, the best. You must have this. You must have the other. We've seen reviews where you've got people who've taken the one camera and then they're taking the one after it, the model after it, and they put side-by-side video, you know, side-by-side shots where they're looking in incredible detail to see the difference in noise. And the point on those as to what the photograph's about, in my opinion. What's your opinion? Let me know in a comment below, because I'm really interested in this. Do you think that we're actually going a little bit overboard on the detail and overboard on that? Let me know. But the other thing which has sort of got me a little bit, and I discussed this with a friend the other day as well, is photographic competitions. I am not a great fan of photographic competitions in photo clubs. Some people love them. I personally can't stand them, because what you do is you do tend to find that you're going into the silly detail, and quite often people forget, the judges will forget about the actual point of the photograph. I've seen photographic competitions where you've got some incredible shots, where you've got some awe-inspiring shots where people have captured a moment, but because it's not the right framing, or because it's not, you know, there's too much noise or whatever, the judges will mark it down on the technicalities rather than the artistic merit. And that really gets to me. And also you get interpretations of different judges, where you get one photograph which is absolutely fantastic to one judge, and the same photograph shown in front of another judge will be heavily slated. And I think the combination of those, the marketing, the new technology which has been coming out at such a rate, and the perception of people who are experts, again in inverted commas, on the photographs, giving their judgment and almost belittling the less well endowed technically photographers. So if you don't have the newest Mark X camera, then you're probably not going to be seen as being any good, because you can't get those extreme shots without that gear. And that seems rather elitist, and I've never seen photography itself as being elitist. Now, when you go back to seeing some of these fabulous photos from the 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe even earlier, you can see that there is so much being displayed on those photographs, so much which you can see on them. You know, the great photographers of the past, or you see on the portrait side, the Hollywood photographers. If you were to start analysing those from a technical point of view, they would be rubbish. They would be seen as being rubbish. The focus on most of them is soft. You know, we look for pin-sharp focus these days, pin-sharp images. We look for incredible detail, but a lot of it's lost. We look towards the idea of some of the landscape photographers that we've seen over the years, and you know, the new super duper big format cameras, they can't get the extreme depths of field that some of the cameras from yesteryear could get on, you know, a bellows camera coming out the front with, by today's technology, incredibly inferior lenses and incredibly inferior camera bodies. And remember, it's not that long ago, it's when we were shooting a film, that I would be going out with a 400 ASA film. ASA is basically equivalent ISO. So if I say ASA, then think ISO. There was a few different standards, but ASA used to be what we'd call ISO in the film days in the UK. I'd be going out with a 400 ASA film. And of course, if you go out with a film, you've got the whole film at that speed. You can't just chop and change between it. So I'd be going out with a 400 ASA film. And that was quite often quite grainy. Going out with 1,000, I remember when Kodak brought their Gold 1000 out for the print film. I remember being amazed by this 1000 ASA film because I could actually get shots I couldn't before. But it was incredibly grainy. It really was awful at times. And the extremes, the other side, you're going out with Ektachrome and things like that if you're doing the slides at ASA 25 or ASA 64. And that's what you had for the whole roll of film. And you had to have your shots around that and you had to make them count. So have we gone too far? Again, let me know in the comments below because this really does interest me. And remember, your comments actually aren't just read by me, they're read by a whole lot of other people. And I know a lot of people get knowledge from what you say rather than me. So don't be afraid to leave a comment because there's lots of other people who will be interested in what you have to say. But me personally, I think we may have gone too far. And using that G1 has really brought me back down to earth with a big bump. I'm happy with some of the photographs with noise. I'm happy that I'm able to get them. Remember, sometimes if you're going for an extreme photograph, there's no way to avoid noise. You're at the extremities of the camera. So therefore, it's a shot which you would have not got if you hadn't tested the waters and just taken that risk and bumped the ISO up and risked a bit of noise to get the shot itself. And I think that's probably more important than having something super clean. Now, as I say, let me know what you think below. Don't forget to give this video a big like if you would. It is appreciated. But until the next time, this is Brian James at Micro Four Thirds guy saying, keep on taking your camera out. Keep on taking photographs. Keep on having fun with your photography, irrespective about the technical limitations. See you next time. Bye-bye.